Normally I do tell a joke, but this morning I am actually not telling a joke, so I'm glad other people did. I'm going to tell a story about a real life experience I got to witness last weekend. Raise your hand if you've been to the Kentucky Derby. Okay, put those hands down. Then raise your hand if you like to drink, if you like to gamble, if you like to dress up in your finest, if you like the energy of Vegas and 150,000 people, heartbeats beating around you. Okay, do you like those things? It was an amazing, amazing experience. I also didn't realize, I didn't know what a furlong was. But I love the Kentucky Derby even more now. I love horse racing even more because furlong is an eighth of a mile. And how are mortgage rates defined? By eighths. So I was really good. I knew every eighth of a mile, and the race is 1.25 miles long. So I know that's 12 furlongs. That's 12 eighths. So I was a math wizard out there. Everyone's like, how do you know all this stuff? I'm in the mortgage industry. Everything's an eighth. So it was terrific. But the takeaway I'd like to share real quick before we get into the presentation is what I took from it. And we were at the very end of the last turn, the last furlong, which is what? 1/8 of a mile. And that's when everyone makes their break. And so I was there for the Kentucky Oaks, which is the day before the Derby, which is 12 races. And I was there for the Kentucky Derby, which is also, actually it's 13 races, which is also 13 races. 90,000 people at the Kentucky Oaks, 150,000 people at the Derby. And the one thing I noticed on almost every race but the actual Derby race was that it's not how you start, it's how you finish. Almost every horse that won the race won in the last furlong and was 3 to 4 horses behind. So it is not how you start, people. It is how you finish in life that will define you. So keep at it, keep working, and then when you feel like you got that extra, kick it in, and when they don't, you will win. That's what I took for the Kentucky Derby. So I wanted to share that with you. Okay, so this is now the official beginning of the presentation, and I'll be presenting for Franklin Loan Center. Mike McDonald's will be coming up, obviously, for Market Watch, and Kenny Cassidy from Orange Palm. I'm going to be focusing my presentation on exactly what Mike is going to be talking about, which is the remote owner market, which is second homes and investment properties, which is roughly 50% of our market, which makes us unique because no one has 50% of their market that's remote owners and second homes. So I'm going to do my best to appreciate all those teachers that made a difference in our lives and hopefully teach you guys something for the next 15 minutes because today is National Teacher Appreciation Day. So if anyone still has those phone numbers from those teachers that made a difference for you, call them and tell them. Okay, the two things I'm going to be focusing on, risk-based pricing. And I will tell you what that is and how it works. And the second thing I'm going to focus on is cost of waiting. This cost of waiting is a pretty cool thing. You can reach out to any of your Franklin Loan Center loan reps, and they can give you this cost of waiting spreadsheet as well. All right, what's risk-based pricing? Risk reward. Steve said it. We need to be bold in life to get a better reward. Okay? We need more bold people in life. We need more people taking risks. That's where you make money. So the whole way interest rates are set up is through risk reward. It's exactly how you would lend your money. You would never lend your money to someone who never made a mortgage payment, never made a car payment, and give them the best rate. Okay? You would lend your money and give the best rate to those people who never missed an installment payment, never missed a credit card payment, were good credit risks. So why would you expect banks or government-backed agencies to do anything different? All based on risk reward. So what are those factors that go in the risk reward? First thing is occupancy. Has the number one thing for interest rates is occupancy. Primary residence, second home, non-owner occupied. Primary residents have the least risk because people let the roof go over their home last. Second homes have the second most risk because as soon as you can't afford that second home lifestyle, you get rid of it. Investment properties has the most risk because it's just an investment and it doesn't even have a lifestyle to it. It's just a numbers game. So they affect the risk. FICO scores. Do people pay their bills? I would think that's a logical way to look at risk reward. If you're lending your money, do you pay your bills or not? A rule of thumb is 620 FICO score is the lowest score you can have to get a Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loan. I'm not going to get into all the loan programs. That's the rule of thumb for Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Down payment. The more money that's put into the loan, to the property, the more skin someone puts into the deal, the less risk the bank has. Someone puts down 50%, there's a lot less risk if someone putting down 5%. So down payment is the next most obvious thing that affects risk if you're lending your money. Property type. Believe it or not, folks, the number 3 reason for interest rate changes is the property type. Single-family residents and PUDs have the same risk. Condos have 4 times the risk of single-family residents and PUDs. That's important for us all to know when we have a huge market full of second homes and condos. Loan types affect your interest rates. Purchases, least amount of risk. Refis, second most risk. Cash out refinances, the riskiest, because you're pulling money out of the transaction, which makes your loan to value less valuable. Mortgage insurance is the last piece. Mortgage insurance will actually allow you sometimes to get a lower rate, but your payment's still higher. So I'll get into that. So this, folks, is what risk-based pricing is. This is what you would already do in your mind naturally if someone wanted you to lend them money. So I'm going to show you how these factors actually go into quoting an interest rate, because you are all professionals, and the last thing any of you should do is hear from a client about a rate and overreact because you have no idea how that rate's being calculated. So the first thing you should always do is pick up the phone and call a lender and ask them, why is this rate so high? And I would say to a real estate agent, why do you think it's high? And they won't have an answer because they don't know why it's high. So let's get into scenarios. I'm going to give you real life scenarios, and I want you to understand the next 5 scenarios. Imagine you were the real estate agent representing all 5 of these borrowers in the same day, and they all walked into the beautiful lender of Franklin Loan Center and met with these great reps out here. And they walked out, and everyone called you from the same day and gave you the rate they were quoted from the Franklin Loan Center rep. Your head's going to spin. You're going to think we are crazy, and we have no idea what we are doing. We are not loopy. We are quoting interest rates based on risk and price, risk reward. So how does it work? Scenario A, borrower A. You send a borrower to us. They walk in. They tell us, I've got a 780 FICO score. I want to buy a second home. I want to put down 20%. I'm going to tell that borrower today that their single-family residence rate, or PUD, single-family PUD, we're going to say, is 4.375. That's not a bad rate. That's what everyone's expecting to hear. If you're buying a condo, though, your rate's a quarter higher. It's 4.625, okay? So let's say that client walks out, and I gave him those 2 options to buy a single-family or a condo. Then let's say you send another borrower in, same agent, to meet with me, borrower B. And they say, I want to do exactly the same thing the previous borrower did that was in your office, but I have a 680 FICO. I'm going to quote that client a 0.5% higher, 4.875 on a single-family home, or I'm going to quote him a 0.5% on a condo, 5.125. So you send a client to us that basically put down the same amount of money, bought the same type of property, but the FICO was a 100-point difference, and the rate varied by 0.5 point. Would you imagine that would happen? Yes, it would happen. So let me give you another analogy. You send us another client, same day. They walk in, same 680 FICO score as the last client. And they want to buy a second home, same property type. They only want to put down 10%, less money than the previous 2. I'm going to quote them a better rate than the person who put down 20% that just walked in my office with the same credit score and less money down. I'm going to give them 4.625. Why is their rate lower? Because that loan has MI on it. It has mortgage insurance. And when there's mortgage insurance on a loan, they give you a better rate because there's an insurance company who's going to step in to make the lender whole on any losses. Okay, so the rate's 4.625. All you're hearing is 4.625. My last client got ripped off. Okay, but the client didn't tell you they're paying MI, which is equivalent to 0.68% in rate. So actually, this client C, who's putting down 10%, their rate is actually closer to 5.375. But once again, you as an agent, all you heard was someone put down 10%, got 4.625. And then you had a client right before them with 20% down, same FICO, got a quarter higher. I'm yelling and screaming at the top of my lungs. You know how many times we get those calls from agents? Don't be that agent. Don't be that agent. Okay, let everyone else be the agent that's not here today. You be the agent who's smarter. And go, let me pick the phone up. I'm sure there's a reason. I think it's probably something to do with risk price premium. I heard about this. Let me make some phone calls for you. That's what you should do, okay? Because you all know 4 years ago, 2014, Dodd-Frank passed. All these loan reps in the back, they can give your client a point higher than the current market. Guess how much more they all get paid? They get paid $0 more. None of the loan reps make any more money to give a higher rate. That was different before 2014. So why would any loan rep give a higher rate than they need to and risk losing a deal? They wouldn't. Not only at Franklin, but any lender. So just know that. No one's going to rip someone off. Now, some people might have better rates, okay? That does happen sometimes because they have better investors, they have better relationships, they know how to package things different. Borrower D, 680 FICO, same as the previous two. Second home again, 30% down. More skin in the game. Look what happens to their rate. It goes all the way down to 4.375. Even though their FICO is only 680, because they put 10% down more, they got the same rate as the borrower with a 780 with 20% down. So more money in it, better rate, less risk. Imagine you're the lender. More money down, you feel more comfortable about your investment. Banks feel more comfortable about their investment. Condo again, quarter higher. So guys, no, condo is affecting the rate. Quarter higher. Actually, I'm sorry, this one's not a quarter higher. This one's actually the same. So what happens in this situation, because there's so much money down, they're taking the condo risk and they're throwing it away and saying because there's enough equity into the deal, they're giving the same rate here. That'll be the only time you're going to see the same rate on a condo. Borrower E, 640 FICO. Oh my goodness, 640. What's going to happen to this guy? Well, let's tell you. It's a second home again. It's 20% down. Look what his rate is, folks, 5.375. Who here this morning thought a client could walk into a bank with 20% down on a second home with a 640 FICO and get a rate quoted that high? 5.375. I'm going to say most of you thought not likely. That is likely. That's exactly what they would get today if they walked into a bank. 5.625 on a condo. 5.625, folks, on a condo. And that's if they're going to the best investors with the best relationships and the best pricing. Right there. So that's a second home snapshot of risk-based pricing. Let me show you what happens if you go to a non-owner market. Now this is scary. The non-owner pricing really gets out of whack. Okay? So keep in mind, I'm not even discussing today what the rates are on a primary residence. By the way, everyone knows a primary residence means you don't rent it, right? Everyone knows that. So these are homes, second home you're not supposed to rent either, but sometimes that happens, and Kenny's going to get into some of that when he talks about how to help get more sales through renting and everything else. But these next 5 scenarios, imagine you're the real estate agent again, saying these borrowers in on the same day and getting quotes so you can understand how impactful this is. Borrower A, 780 FICO score. Investment property, 20% down, which, by the way, rule of thumb, you buy an investment property, 20% down is minimum down payment. Second home rule of thumb, 10%. Primary rule of thumb, 5%. 780 FICO, investment property, they're putting the minimum down payment required to buy an investment property. Their interest rate, 5.625 today on a 30-year fix. 5.625. They want to buy a condo? Check this out. If they want a no-point loan on a condo with the minimum down, they got at no points they're at 6.125 today. Who in this room thought you'd get quoted a rate with a 6 in front of it today? You will get quoted a rate with a 6 in front of it today if your client's buying a condo with only 20% down, even with the best FICO score, and they want to pay no points. That's what they're getting. If they want to pay a point, they can buy it down to 5.625, which is what most of them do. Or what the good loan officers do, like these folks back here, is they educate the client, say, you know what, I can get you 6.125 at no points, or 5.65 at a point. Or if you just put down 5% more, everything changes. And most people who are buying investments have the money and they make that investment. So let's talk about borrower B. You're a borrower. Comes in, 780 FICO, great FICO. Investment property again, they're putting 5% down more. So they're no more at the max, 5% down more. Now their rate drops all the way to 5% from 5.625. They save 5/8 in rate, guys. 5/8, that's 5 furlongs, okay? 5 furlongs. 5/8 in rate, that's a big deal. That's a big deal in payment, only because they put 5% down more. Look at the condo pricing. Same thing, folks, 5%. Because what trumps everything? Money, investment, skin in the game, okay? So let's go down to borrower C. Let's look at someone who's putting the minimum down payment on investment property and has now even a worse FICO score, 680. Let's see what happens to their pricing. They're at 5.875. They're a quarter higher than the guy at 780. And look what their pricing is now. They got to pay a point to get 6 1/4. And they no points, 6 3/4. These are rates that no one's been quoting for 5 or 10 years out there. You never heard these rates, okay? These rates have actually been out there on second home and investment condos with the minimum amount of money down, okay? When you hear the government putting out income raises for spending, they call them LLPAs, loan level price adjustments. And they put them out on Fannie, Freddie, FHA, VA, USDA. And what they do is they increase all these price adjustments for loans so that all of your borrowers pay more money to finance properties. So what they've been doing over the last 5 years sneakily is they've been raising these loan level price adjustments based on risk. And all the politicians say it's not going to affect pricing. Well, it will affect pricing for 95% of the people that don't have the amount of money to put down, don't have the great FICO score. So they've been affecting these loan level price adjustments. So it does affect the people that need it the most. Borrower D, 680. Investment, 25% down. So not a great FICO, but they're putting 5% down more, 5.625 on a single family condo. You guys see the huge discrepancies in these rates? Look at the last scenario. 640 FICO, investment property, 30% down, skin in the game. Now they're getting a good rate again, 5.625. So this scenario, we're quoting people as low as 5, and we're quoting people as high as 6 3/4. So the rates for your clients the same day when they walk into the same bank can vary today from 4.5% to 6 3/4 just on Fannie Mae. They can vary non-QM all the way up to 8 or 9. But that's not what I'm going to get into today. I just wanted you to understand risk-based pricing. How you would lend your money is how banks lend their money. All right. Another piece of the remote owner market, and Mike's talking a lot about this, remote owner, second homes and investment properties, is the condo piece makes it difficult for mortgage financing because there's 2 types of reviews. There's limited reviews and there's full reviews. A limited review qualifies if you put more money down. You qualify for limited review. And the reason a limited review is so great is because it doesn't allow the lender to dive into a full project review. Because a full project review, we get the CC&Rs. And what does the CC&R say? They can rent for less than 3 days. There's mandatory social dues. There's things in there that makes that property not lendable. So this is something important to remember when you're working with people. Full project review or limited project review. Second topic, cost of waiting. A lot of you agents out there have people that's sitting on the sideline. They're not buying right now. And you're telling them they should buy. You have a hard time telling them why they should buy. Well, here's a great 3 slides that we can prepare for you that you can share with your clients who are thinking about buying but aren't buying. This is hard to see. You've got the slide. You've got this inside your booklet, but it's basically based on is this point? Yeah. Based on a $450,000 property, okay, on a 30-year fixed and putting down 20%. So these clients are going to borrow 80%. I'm taking the MBA's interest rate forecast for the next 3 years, and I'm taking the MBA's appreciation values for California into this chart as well. So I'm making 2 assumptions, where rates are going over 3 years and where values are going over 3 years, okay? So the rate is 4.5 today. It gives you APR, it gives you total cost to close, gives you your mortgage payment. all this here if you buy today. If you wait 6 months, the price goes up. You wait 1 year, the price goes up. You wait 2 years, the price goes up. You wait 3 years, the price goes up. Your loan amount goes up because the price goes up. Your down payment goes up because the price goes up. Your rates are going up because rates are supposed to go up. Okay? So I'm going to go to the next 3 slides because it tells you this in a much overall picture quickly, and I'm running behind. Okay. Cost of waiting based on amortization and depreciation. If you wait 6 months, your client's going to lose $11,000. How are they losing $11,000? They lose the appreciation over the last 6 months, and they lose the amortization savings they had on the loan. If they wait a year, they lose 23 grand. Year and a half, 51 grand. 2 years, or 3 years, 80 grand. So that's lost money to your clients. Take it a step further. Well, how does it affect their cash to close? Waiting 3 years, it's going to cost them $12,500 more to close. If they wait 6 months, it costs them a little under $2,000 more to close. So it costs them more money by waiting. What else happens? Cash flow. The payment goes up because the value goes up, the rate goes up, payment goes up. So now you got cash flow. If they wait 6 months, they've lost $131 a month in cash flow. If they wait 3 years, they have $533 a month loss in cash flow. These are real numbers, guys. These are not made up. The only assumptions are rates are going up and prices are going up. And then these numbers are real. Okay, so I know I'm a little behind, so I apologize. Appreciate you all for being here. Hope that information is valuable. Mike McDonald is going to elaborate on the RO market. Condos, second homes, investments. It's great information. Mike McDonald, come up and knock their socks off.
Thank you, Walt. Good job. Thank you. Good to see everybody. As you know already, that this is going to be on the remote owner second home market. There's a very good reason why we're actually having it at this seminar. Very, very good reason indeed. It's because we always have it in the May seminar. So we decided, because of the fact that the market here is really 50-50, 50% remote owners and 50% owner-occupied, that in order to really understand it, we're going to separate it. November seminar is always going to be on the owner-occupant market, which is the local market, called the local market, which are the people who live here and work here, that market, versus the ones who either buy as an investment or as a second home, okay? So again, now, Vic's my partner. He was already introduced, I think, over there. We made a very good decision. You know, you don't always make good decisions. But we made a good decision about 4 years ago. By the way, Vic, I don't know if you know him. He's been out here for 40 years. If you want to know anything about the Coachella Valley, talk to Vic. He knows every development, what was started, everything. He was born in Orange County. Okay, he was a cowboy. He grew up on horses. You know, I was born in Manhattan Beach. So really, Market Watch is a surfer and a cowboy, is what we are. Okay, this is our basis. We haven't lost those base ingrained characteristics, but we made a good decision because inventory is like gone with the wind. You know, it disappears. It's a momentary snapshot at any moment in time of the existing listings for homes for sale, okay? And unless you keep a record of it and stockpile it, it's not like sales. Sales, you can go back and look at all sales, but inventory disappears. You don't know what the inventory was 3 days ago unless you have a record of it. So we decided to do that, but then we also decided to do it by remote owner or owner-occupant. Okay, that's something you very seldom see because you have to marry 2 databases. In other words, what percentage of the listings come from owner-occupants and what percent come from remote owners? You've probably never seen that. You probably haven't because it's never been available. And it just so happens we made this decision, been stockpiling the data, and really now is the first time we're going to use it. So we're going to show you some interesting stuff. And besides by inventory, we also kept it by subdivision. So we have the historical listings by subdivision and country club, which is going to become very useful too, I think. So anyway, that's the start of it. Now, in order to get into this, I want to show you the housing stock of the Coachella Valley. Housing stock is all the homes. Okay, there's about 150,000 homes. Well, let's look at the numbers. Next slide. This shows you the Coachella Valley has 69,680 owner-occupied homes. and 80,254 remotely owned homes. So it's a little bit in favor of the remote owner versus the owner-occupant for a total number of homes of almost 150,000. Okay? And over there, we've ranked the cities left to right by the city with the most number of housing units. So the biggest number is in Palm Springs. There's 26,928 homes in Palm Springs. 17,000 are remotely owned. Isn't that interesting? 17,000. Not people who live here necessarily, but they're people who come out here. These are use their property for whatever reason. And almost 10,000 owner-occupied. And it goes down. Palm Desert is not far behind at 25,000. It's got similar characteristics. Indio is just there because it has so many people. So anyway, that is, now we're going to be focusing on just the lower number, the light green. So on the next slide, I took that and then I sorted the numbers by the light green. So there's going to be a slight shifting of the order of homes at the bottom. I'm sorry, order of cities at the bottom. And that's the same chart, but sorted by the number of remotely owned homes. So as we mentioned, Palm Springs has the most number of 17,000, Palm Desert 15, La Quinta 11,000, 8,000 for Indio, Rancho Mirage is 7,000 or so, all the way down to city of Coachella. And it's that green is what we're going to, now the light green, the faded out part is the November talk, and the May talk is today, okay? So that's what we're doing. Now this, interestingly, because if you go to a normal area, not an abnormal area like Coachella Valley, but a normal housing area like Los Angeles or Orange County or, Timbuktu, in Illinois or whatever, maybe you get 10% of the homes are remotely owned and 90% are owner-occupied. So the dynamic is rather simple, But now when you have two markets really coexisting with each other, you have an interesting dynamic because the supply and demand, which drives home prices, is the sum of two numbers, isn't it? The number of buyers is the number of owner-occupied buyers plus the number of potential remote owner buyers, and the number of sellers is the number of remote owner sellers plus the number of owner-occupied sellers, people leaving the area or whatever. So that dynamic increases the equation. It's more than double, it's kind of 4 times. So it becomes a very interesting thing that no one's really ever kind of dug down and looked at it with a microscope and kind of figure out how does this thing work. So we developed, before I get into that, I presented this slide a couple years ago. I want to do it again because it's very interesting. Walt brought it to my attention. He thought it was very good. So I included this slide. What is this thing? This shows you everything. It shows you the United States and California, San Diego County, LA County, Orange County, and the Coachella Valley on 3 different dates. It shows you the number of households and the annual home sales in that area, and that the percentage of sales per household. Now in a normal area, it's just generally owner-occupiers who are selling. They're selling and moving elsewhere, or they're selling and upgrading. That's what they sell for, right? So normally, in the U.S. average, this is the latest numbers, 4.2% of sales of owner-occupiers sell a home. That means the turnover rate would take 25 years for 100% of them to sell out, okay, at 4%. California, 3.3%. San Diego County is 1.9%. All the way up here to the Coachella Valley now in 2018, it's 7.6%. In other words, you take total sales, housing unit sales, we don't care if it's remote owner or owner-occupied, we're just looking at sales, divided by the number of households, it's 7.8%, okay? In 2010, it was 7.1. 2000, it was 14%. So you can see why Coachella Valley is such a delicious place for real estate agents. All right. Of course, you have 4 times the competition, too, but we won't talk about that part of it. But anyway, because of all this, we came up with a model for housing, and MarketWatch's model, the Valley Housing is an approximate 50-50 mix of 2 independent buyer markets, owner-occupied and remote owners. Both markets are driven, are influenced influenced, driven by different factors, okay? The owner-occupier market is standard, okay? It's desire to own versus rent. Interest rates, affordability, credit ratings, wages, employment growth, population increases. They're the standard factors that drive the normal residential housing market, okay? Those are the factors. So you can estimate demand and supply. Normally you don't get supply until there's layoffs and things, because people don't sell unless they have to sell usually, or they're moving or whatever. But normally that's kind of static or stable. And the buying changes depending upon interest rates and wages and growth of the population, et cetera. So that's standard. We know that formula. It's very, very simple. But now the remote owners are driven by desire. The wealth effect, status is an important factor. Lifestyle desires. Normally, the second home market is driven by the top 1%. The people who have a lot of money and can afford and have the wealth to leave a cold area like Chicago or wet area like Washington, D.C. They can turn over their business to somebody to run it, or they come down here and have fun. That's a big part of it, you know, and status, et cetera. So, what I'm saying is that, see, this, when you have two markets driven by different factors, you see, it's a different equation, isn't it? So we're going to be focusing primarily on the remote owner market. That was affected quite a bit by the recession because the wealth fell down. And so the desire or the ability for second home buyers to buy in that market fell down because of that. It fell down for both components, but for the first time really fell down for the remote owners. So now, in order to measure the remote owner market, okay, how do you measure it, you know? Well, price-wise. We're going to talk about how do you measure it price-wise, because price is an important factor. Well, one simple way to do it is look at, especially at the lower end of the remote owner market, is look at condos. Because now this is an interesting slide. I want to bring your attention to this one. These are attached units. There's 44,000 attached homes in the valley and 105 detached. Okay? So of that, though, about most of the detached are owner-occupied. 44% is remote owner. But in the attached market, 72, gee, that's 3 out of 4 almost, isn't it? 3 out of 4 owners are remote owners. So what's going on price-wise in the attached home market, the condo market, is indicative of what's going on in the remote owner market. It's a proxy. That's a word they use. Yeah, that's a good substitute for is proxy for the remote owner market. And so we're going to take a look at how prices have been doing in the remote owner market, in the attached home market. And here is this chart, which you get every week, by the way, in the Desert Housing Report. And it's a very interesting chart. It goes back to, what is this thing? It goes back to 2002. So you've got 17 years of time here, okay? So let me just orient you here in time. You've got the bubble years of 2003, 4, and 5. You had this wild peaking area. Then you had the big collapse, and you had 2011 and 12. And really, it didn't do much here. The attached market really reflecting kind of a fading off of the remote owner market. You see, so we didn't get the price run up that we got in the detached market. But recently, it's been coming to life. So price-wise, and I'll validate this on the next slide too, because I'll show you, this is for the region, I'll show you city by city, okay? And the next slide shows you city by city what's going on in the condo market. And when I do that, I've circled it in red. We have the detached homes and attached homes. Again, this is 2 tables we put in the Desert Housing Report every month, so you probably have seen these. But I circled in green here the year-over-year 12-month change in attached homes. In Rancho Mirage is up 26%. La Quinta is up almost 15%. Indio, 15%. Indian Wells, 11%. Palm Desert, 6.4%. Palm Springs, 5.6. Now, look, and when you compare Palm Springs and Palm Desert against their detached gains, the attached market is stronger than the detached market. So, price-wise, what do we conclude from this? Price-wise, the second home market is pretty good. Because we got worried. Everybody got worried. It wasn't just us. Maybe all these remote owners are starting to sell, you see. And we'll get into that on this slide, okay? Because inherently, this remote owner market is inherently more unstable than the owner-occupied market. Why potentially more unstable? Because in a normal market, people only sell when they get laid off or they move. The number of sellers, unless the economy goes kittywampus, gets out of whack, people don't move or they sell unless they have to sell, or they move, But that's normally, it's a small number. So the normal owner-occupied market is rather stable because of that selling component. But the remote owner market's different. It's the largest market, so supply and demand from remote owners dominate regional pricing. An owner-occupant needs a home. In other words, he said, well, let's just sell the house, honey. Where are we going to live? Well, I don't know. Who cares? I hadn't thought of that. Well, no. The owner-occupant needs someplace to live. But a remote owner doesn't need a second home. Well, they might consider they do, but they really don't, you see. Push comes to shove. Are they going to sell the home they live in or the remote owner? Okay, so it's changing climate or weather can affect RO demand. If this global warming changes things, things could affect, we don't know where that's going to go. Changing in tax policy can affect second home demand. If the government makes owning a second home so financially arduous, so in other words, but that could also happen with owner-occupied homes, but it probably is going to happen more with remote owner homes. Restrictive city or HOA rental policies. Steve talked about this. You see, and the worry really isn't so much the restriction. You can live with that. Palm Desert just put a limit on the number of short-term rentals in the city-controlled part of the population. But that's not the worrisome thing, okay? The worrisome thing is the next person thinking, well, suppose they do that to me? The what if? Well, I better not take that risk, because I might get stuck, you see. He spoke to that very well. That's the worry thing that goes in the head. So there are unintended consequences to, well, we'll just put a limit on the rental policy here, but that has ripples that go out, that has factors that have to be considered, okay? Escalating HOA and social fees could limit demand and bring about RO selling. We thought that this was a major, I'll show you the next slide, which is kind of very interesting. We learned a lot ourselves because we saw, my goodness, the monthly HOA social fee is $1,200 a month. Who pays that? And they're only here 3 months out of the year. Boy, everybody must be selling. You can get those thinking go, the way your mind goes, So the question is that true? We thought it probably was true, but it isn't true. Okay, we went back and we actually looked at HOA rates, fees over time, and looked at it. And that's this. We went to 6 and we took the HOA fees, average fees, and all the sales on the MLS database, and we made some adjustments, et cetera. This is, I won't say it's perfectly accurate, but it's as accurate as we could make it. And we've got 6 country clubs, the Lakes, Ironwood, Springs, Indian Ridge, Palm Valley. We just did this average. We averaged the growth back in 2002 that was like $800, $600. The average annual increase in HOA and social fees in 6 prominent country clubs since 2002 was 2.8% per year. Now, if you look at the wage growth of the top 5%, we should look at the top 1, but I had the 5% handy, so that was good enough for me. I didn't want to spend too much time digging too deep into the thing. So while fees is 2.9%. So HOA fees, if they were fine back in 2005, 6, and 7, everybody was happy there, it's the same now. Even though it might seem high. So that, as a factor, is not apparently as important as a driver as we initially thought it would be. I mean MarketWatch. We've learned too as we've gone forward doing some of these studies. We're showing you that. So that is not necessarily a factor. Okay? Increasing competition from second home investment regions of the country. Scottsdale, for example. Is that competition? Yes, it is competition. You know, so that is a worry. But this is the best place. And you think that's not a joke. I'm serious. It is. Dead serious. Can't compete it here. This is the best as it gets, okay? And don't ever think otherwise. So, two big questions that we want to ask, and because we didn't know the answer. And as I said, we're in a position now to kind of look at, since we kept these inventory numbers secret, compiling all the data, and we finally pull them out of the shelf and say, how can we use this to take a look at what's going on here and maybe help out in the understanding of this second home market? Are Valley remote owners selling more? Is there a wave of remote owners selling? Either due to price increases, due to restrictive HOA fees, whatever. Okay? And are remote buyers on the decline and losing interest or going elsewhere? Those are two important questions. And I want to show you what we came up with. And to do that, I want to show you starting, and again, you get this every month. And I want to start with this slide because it's an orienting slide. It orients your thinking. Okay? And this is total Valley inventory going back to 2014. And what do you notice? One is seasonality of inventory. It grows and shrinks. It breathes depending on the weather. You know, it grows, well, the peak months are always around May, aren't they? As far as listings, you'll find listings are almost always, the peak month is almost always May. And then it shrinks down to the lowest one being about September. So it has this yearly breathing, which is the seasonality, which forces us, in order to compare, you should always compare the same month because of this, so you're on the same footing, you know. And but this number shows you, a year ago we had 3,789 listings in the Valley. This April, we had April 1st, was 772, I think. For all intents and purposes, the same, right? That's the same number. Now that's a good thing to know. That's why I wanted to show you this. Because now it'll be interesting, if everything else is the same, that should be the same for the remote owner or the owner occupant. If everything, so we're going to take a look now at just the remote owner component to this total. We're going to pull out that data. As I said, we decided to go. And here it is, okay? For detached homes and attached homes, let me come over here where I can see it better, hopefully. You can have this one over here if I block anybody. But I'll try to stand here. I just can't see it very well from over there. This goes back to 2016, and I look at the April values of just the remote owners, not the owner occupants, for detached homes and attached homes. Okay? And the important thing is this compared. Now we know that the total inventory is the same. Now in the detached market, we're up almost about 100. Not quite. The listings of a remote owner detached homes are up 80 units, or about 7% higher, which is not that big. That's okay. But the listings of the remotely owned attached homes are down 10%. Now we know the attached market is definitely the second home market specifically. All right, so this is surprising. That is actually down. We're getting fewer sellers, remote owner sellers, than we had a year ago in the attached market. Okay. Now this is something to know. So this is orienting information. We're not getting a wave, okay, of remote owner selling. Looking at listings, okay? So Now let's break it down by city. That's for the total valley. Let's look at by city and also by price bracket. Okay. Now this is. Let me explain this slide. I always like to take the time so you fully understand this. We know, I'm not going to show you the big chart, all right, because we know we're looking at April, right? We're always looking at April, April to April to April to April. So I'm going to show you the April numbers of remote owner listings in Palm Desert on April 2016, the number of remote owner listings in Palm Desert April 2017, the number of remote owner listings in Palm Desert April 2018, and the number today, this last one, in 5 major cities. Okay? So here is the number. Here is the year-over-year change, and the green means that it's higher. We have more listings in Palm Desert by 20%, and Rancho Mirage by 20%. We're down in La Quinta. Indian Wells is really unchanged, so is Palm Springs. Palm Springs is an amazing city. It just keeps going. It's like the Energizer Bunny, you know. Keeps going and going and going, you know, and you expect the statistics to start getting out of whack, you know, or some kind of an oddball ratio. It's the same as it was 5 years ago before the big price came. It's strong as an ox. And we're not seeing any problem there in the remote owner market. Attached homes, Palm Desert is good. Palm Springs is good. Decline in listings. Rancho Mirage, that's just. So everything is fine here. There's really only 2 cities really that may be kind of a worrisome thing. Now, Palm Desert had a policy of taking away short-term rentals in their own areas, which would be the detached market. Some of that might be this, but we've done a study on that one, and it doesn't seem like there's any major problem here. So even though if there's any area, it'd be those 2 cities, but it's so minor, I would not call it a problem, okay? So now by price bracket. Okay, is there a certain price range where there's a lot of RO listings? So we took all the valley listings, remote owner listings, and broke the number into price brackets. So, and again, we have the 4 years, 2016, 17, 18, and 19. There used to be 100 units listed under, this for detached homes, under $2,000. Now there's only 26. So we notice, for example, year-over-year increases in some of the ranges. Some of this, by the way, is due to just there's more homes in that price bracket because the price move up. And then now the interesting one is the $1 million and up range. It's only up 2% over last year. And look, a couple of years ago there were 500 units for sale in the $1 million and up range. Now it's 381. Now that $1 million and up range, that's very much an RO territory. Higher price, the more remote owner units. So you can say, well, it's still up a little bit from last year. But you see, the price increase is driving more homes into that bracket, isn't it? Homes that was priced at $900,000 is now $1 million. So the more you get price increase, the more homes enter that $1 million plus zone. So you got to be careful. Is that more listings due to the fact there's more homes there? Or is it really reflective of more selling? So actually, it's a positive. The fact that it's only up 2.1% over last year with more homes being in that bracket. There is no problem in the $1 million and up price range. Okay? So, summary of the remote owner market. Okay? Hopefully you make it feel better. The remote owner market is currently stable with no overbalance of supply or demand and an upward price balance trend. Okay? Contrary to what many believe, there has been little increase in overall selling by remote owners. Year-over-year RO listings of detached homes are up 7%, which is not that big, while attached listings are down 10%, almost zero change total net. Increased RO listings for detached homes are primarily in 2 cities, Palm Desert and Rancho Mirage, but the increase is not worrisome at all. Our listings of $1 million homes are historically low. Growth of HOA social fees match wage gains of top 5%, so is not apparently a restrictive factor in the minds. These people who buy these homes, second homes, they make $100,000 a month. You know, a lot of them. You know, more. $1,000. You want to pay $1,000 a month? Oh, that's spending change here. You know, that kind of a deal. So, but there is a problem, a little bit of a problem here. Not everything's completely rosy. Is that the growth? This now let me tell you what this is. This is the number of remotely owned homes going back to 2000. There used to be a total of 52. Okay, total. This is total. Now it's up to 78. But since 2013, it's gone from 75,977. Let's just call that 76,000, okay? That's 76,000, 78,500. So it's gone up 0.6%. So even though there's not any selling, there is not a tremendous increase in demand, okay? Desire to own. So it's kind of a homostasis, a static situation, you might say. But one of the main features out here, people own a second home for exclusivity. I never say that word. Status, very important. They make a lot of money and they want to enjoy it and show people that they make. You know, you can't show somebody your wallet, so you show them your second home. You know. And golf. You know, people think of the death of golf. And golf will never die. Never die. No, not at that age bracket. That's the only thing that people can play. That and a weak game of tennis. Okay. So, few Southern California TV ads. There's a reason. There's not a lot of advertising in LA County, Orange County, and San Diego County, because the only thing to really bring them out, the advertising, are new homes. Number of new home developments are still historically low. They're not over about 800 units a year. It used to be 2,500. You know, so we don't have the advertising to turn on the minds of the people, because most of the owners are LA County, Orange County, and San Diego County. Okay, so converting more ROs. Now, let me see. I don't want to take Kenny's time. Yeah, I got to wrap up here pretty quick. Okay, basically, individually you are doing great. Okay, collectively you could do better. What the heck does that mean? It means, you know, the HOA on-site selling system, lots of pluses to it, because the HOAs wants the best representation of the property. Having an agent on-site who knows the property, knows all the streets, knows the homeowners, you know, knows the ins and outs, the fees, and everything like that is a definite plus. That system in this region, because of the situation, makes sense. Except it's got a little bit of a problem because it's so hard to get information. And it's a very complicated decision. The second home to buy a home, a normal home, is simple. So it's a nice home, it's close to a school, and we'll buy it. Well, here, I don't know. What's the golf course like? What's the, you know, all this other stuff gets in. What's the fee and everything? It's a much more complicated. And if you don't have the necessary information to make the decision, it's very difficult. You're losing buyers because of that. How much? I don't know. I thought maybe 5%. Steve, when we talked about it, he thought more. He had experiences of a number of people who went elsewhere. It was just too hard. You see, if you just had one country club here, it'd be simple. But that person has 20, 30, 50 choices. And if it's like digging information to get, well, how do I know if this is the best choice? You know, it's so complicated. You know, it's so hard to get. I'll go there. I'll go elsewhere. Screw it, you know. There's a problem. It can be. So remember, what is familiar to you is new and mysterious to them. You know, you drive around. You don't even need a GPS system. You say hi to the guard. You know, those know them by name. You're all over the place. You know, you're down the streets and everything. the person in the back seat or in the seat of the car is going, where are we? What's going on? It's new to them. They don't know. So there's something to be said here. We did an analysis for one of the country clubs here, and it was very difficult to get the necessary information to compare one country club to the next. I'll just say that. We were very hard pressed, and Vic's a broker. It was hard pressed to get the data. HOAs wouldn't talk to us. Okay, there's both sides. I won't get into it. There's both sides of this coin, okay? But I'm just saying the region is losing some sales because of that. Now, we come to the rescue a little bit. We found out information is power. There's an agent here, I think, I won't mention who it is, but came to us and he put on a presentation for the homeowners he's an in-house agent, and he put together with some of this data, information, a presentation. It was, and ran off copies like this, all right? And it was customized to that development and how that development compared to 5 or 6 others around. And the homeowners were just bug-eyed. They'd never seen that. And they kept coming back for copies handed out to their neighbors, because for the first time, we now have, and you actually have the information. We just good at math. You're not, maybe, or you don't have the time to do it, where you can now do analysis down to the subdivision or country club level and present homeowners who are there with really good information, the stuff that they've been waiting to hear. They don't want to know what the median value of Palm Desert is. Well, what's going on here? You see, for the first time, not for the first time, it is available to be utilized. Increase your number of listings if you're an in-house agent. Instead of getting 30, you should probably get 50 or 60, because homeowners will look upon you as, hey, this guy or this lady's in the know. Look at all this is what I really wanted to know, Well, when you sell your house, come to me, kind of a thing. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say. That's the end of my presentation. I'm going to bring up Kenny. Ken, where's Kenny? I think it's my next slide. We'll get through these. Kenny Cassidy? Yes. He's going to talk about, because the second component of this is the importance of renting to the remote owner market, okay? And Ken is going to talk to that.
Thanks, Mike.
Sure.
Thank you. Thanks for teeing me up so perfectly. Actually, Mike recognized when I met him at the last Market Watch event, he said, so what's your name? I said, I'm Kenny Cassidy. I work for Orange Palm Vacation Homes. What do you do there? Property acquisition. What does that mean? I said, I work with realtors and buyers who are looking to buy properties. He said, stop right there. You have the answer. And I said, yes, I do. Thanks, Mike. What was the question? He said the question was how to attract and convert more remote owner prospects. I don't have all the answers, but I can give you one really, really important answer, and I'm going to share it with you right now. But first I'm going to start with, what do we know? So giving the remote owner buyer everything they need to make a decision is really, really important. Mike's talked about that. Walt talked about it. Arming people with the information that they need to make a decision. If 50% of buyers in the Coachella Valley are remote owners, we've already talked about that, at least 50% here, depending on what city you're talking about. We already know that 50%, according to the National Association of Realtors, this is a national number, it's probably higher here, if 50% of buyers of second or vacation homes intend to rent their property out at some point in time. Now, I'm no mathematician, definitely, but I think that comes out to be about 25% or more of our buyers here in the Valley are thinking about renting out their property. So, if that is the case, how do we appeal to those buyers? A vacation rental information provided to them in some way, shape, or form, some knowledge on the listing agent's part, some knowledge on their buyer's agent that's taking them out to show them the properties, but you don't have to know that. I'm the expert. I'm here to help you. I'm here to arm you. So if we give them some sort of information about each of the properties that they're looking at, then that might help you get an offer that you might not have gotten before, because they can attach some revenue to it and they can see what this might be worth to them, work it into their math, into their equation. they might make a higher offer than they might have made previously because they can attach some revenue to it and it can help them afford the property a little bit more easily than they thought they might have been able to. It might help them stretch. A buyer might make an offer on a property above their predetermined price limit. That's something that you're helping your clients with all the time. You thought your limit was X. Here's this really, really nice property that's a little bit more than X, and it also comes with some potential revenue attached, and here's the information on it. It might make them make an offer faster than they might have made otherwise, and that's going to help you get it sold faster. So what do we do to present that information to them? If you have a buyer that's looking at 3 different properties and you think those properties, and they're thinking about vacation rental or rental of some sort, and you want to get them some information on it, just send me an email or introduce me via email and say, hey, here's the 3 properties we're looking at. What do you think? What are these going to be worth? I'll send you some upsides, downsides, and revenue projection. One of the lessons I've learned is I'm not going to say, you should buy this property, don't buy that property, because then the agents hate me. So instead, I say upsides, downsides, here's the rental projection. I just give them the facts, arm them with the information, let them make the decision on their own. If you have your own listing and you think it might make a good vacation rental, then email me the address and say, Kenny, what do you think? I've got this listing. Can I get a rental projection for this one? Then I'm going to create a formal document for you, and it looks somewhat like this. This is a little bit nicer big screen version. But I'm going to create a formal document for you and email you the PDF. You can print them out. You can display them in the property. So everybody that comes through when you're doing open house or otherwise can grab one of these. And I will put, you can't see it, it's really small down here at the bottom, but I'll put your information on it, and it'll be bigger than this. It'll be up at the top, right underneath vacation rental analysis, courtesy of agent and the office that you're in. That way, when they grab it and they go off and they look at 6 more properties, they're going to remember who gave them that information, who was helpful to them. That can only help you, right? So that's what the rental analysis will look like if I do a formal document for your listing. And not all properties are going to make a good vacation rental. Sometimes you'll come to me and say, what do you think about this one? And I'm going to tell you some information about it that you might not have realized. HOA restrictions, city restrictions. It just might be information that you hadn't realized, and I can share that with you, and you can say, okay, good point, let's move on to the next one. So my point is to be helpful to you, to help you get it sold. That's what I'm here for. Like I said, you don't have to be the expert. I am. One of the numbers that I wanted to come back to that Mike shared earlier on the remote owner listings by city page, there were 2 red arrows, and those 2 red arrows pointed to 2 cities, Palm Desert and Rancho Mirage. Love both cities, fabulous places to live, but I sat there and I looked at it and I said, Mike, why is it that we have 2 red arrows on those 2 cities? I wonder if it's a contributing factor that both of those cities recently have been tightening restrictions on short-term rentals, making it even tougher to get a permit to rent your property out there. Suddenly more people are listing their properties and putting them up for sale. Inventory goes up in those 2 cities. All the other cities' inventory is down. Just a potential theory. You take people's rights away from them, like I think Walt alluded to earlier, take away the ability that they might want sometime in the future, and it makes that property potentially less attractive to them. Maybe they'll go to a different city where they don't have that taken away, that potential right taken away from them. So, keeping it short and sweet. I know you want to, that 3rd cup of coffee just kicked in, so you want to get out of here. But if there's anything I can do to be helpful, my information is in all the packets that you have. Take it with you and let me know how I can help you get it sold faster at a higher price. Hopefully it's helpful. Have a good day.
Thank you.